roommate, mambo vipi? Hali yako vipi? Unaendeleaje kokote uliko? Matumaini kwamba uko salama na uko buheri wa afya. Leo na siku zote nafahamika kama Ruth Ngata. Ningependa kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa kuweza kutupa nafasi nyingine ya kuwa mahala hapa ili tuweze kuzungumzia kuhusiana na mambo mbalimbali ambayo yanatuathiri katika jamii yetu, katika familia zetu. Na tutasema ya kwamba kwa nini familia? Kwa sababu familia ni miongoni mwa vigezo vikuu tena sana katika jamii yetu. Na tunasema ya kwamba a nation without stable families cannot be a nation. So we are here in the same room to starve our fears as we feed our hopes and our hopes. Hivyo ningependa kukaribisha kwa tena kwenye makala ya the same room, and if you are not plugged in, please make sure that you are plugged in our YouTube channel the same room. Utatupata pale ili wakati ambapo tuna makala mapya utaweza kufanya nini? Kupata notification ya kwamba we are having a new thing in the same room. Ningependa kufahamisha kwamba sipo peke yangu kwa tena, ninaye mtaalam ambaye ameungana nasi kwenye makala yetu ya leo ili aweze kutuelimisha, kutufahamisha na vile vile kutuhamasisha kuhusiana na mambo mbalimbali ambayo yanatendeka katika familia zetu na vile vile katika jamii yetu. Hivyo Sammy, ningependa uweze kujitambulisha kwa mtazamaji wetu ili tuweze kuanza siku ya leo.
Asante sana Ruth. Jina langu ni Sammy Ombisa. Mimi ni mtaalamu wa afya ya akili na vile vile mtaalamu wa masuala yanayohusiana na matumizi ya madawa ya kulevya au mihadarati. Vile vile mimi ni mmojawapo ya wahusika katika kanda ya Afrika na pia duniani kote wale wanaopambana na masuala haya ya madawa ya kulevya. Na mwisho kabisa mimi ni mkurugenzi wa kampuni ya Fahari Wellness and Life Coaching, ambayo mojawapo masuala haya ya matumizi au kuzuia matumizi ya madawa ya kulevya ni mambo ambayo tunahusika nayo. Asante sana kunipa nafasi ya kuwa hapa tena.
Thank you very much Sam kwa kuweza kutenga muda wako kuja mahali hapa. Tunasema in the same room we incubate hope as we starve our fears and our insecurities. Na siku ya leo Sam, kuna jambo ambalo ningependa tuweze kulizungumzia. Lipi? How to navigate relationships with a partner, ama how to navigate a relationship with a partner who is into substance abuse.
Yes.
Why am I saying so? Unapata ya kwamba it has long been known and it is still evident that substance abuse and relationships cannot mix.
Yes.
Why? Because when someone is into substance abuse, when someone is into addiction, it affects everything that is around that person.
Yes.
You see? Now, another thing, I saw a clip somewhere, a man, and I think that man was broken because he was even crying, saying how his addiction has his marriage.
Okay.
Because unapata ya kwamba mke wake, the way she addresses him with no respect, even in front of the kids, even in front of other people who might be in the same compound with them, she just throws words at the man just because he is addicted, just because he's undergoing substance abuse. Unapata ya kwamba this man as well, he's not willing to let the wife go. He's not willing to let his wife into the hands of another man. Why? Because he says he loves his wife.
Yeah.
And you can imagine the scenario, what is happening in that house.
Yeah.
You see? And I felt hurt on behalf of him, because I think that is not something you can want to live with.
Yes.
As much as he's saying he loves his wife, as much as he's saying he doesn't want to let the wife go. Because kulingana na vile alikuwa anaongea huko nje, there's what the wife gets in terms of maybe money.
Yes.
And you see the reason as to why, kulingana na jinsi ambavyo alikuwa akisema, ni ya kwamba the wife is behaving the way she is behaving because this man kitambo alipokuwa akianza ndoa yao everything was okay.
Yeah.
Lakini kwa sababu ya panda shuka za maisha, now the income of this man is not an income that is fully able to sustain the family. So akajipata pia ameingia kwenye ulevi.
Yes. And
as a result of this, now the wife is cheating.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
So from a point of ya mtaalamu, I want you to help us fully understand when you're talking about substance abuse and addiction, what are we really talking about?
Great. So first of all, using the example that you've given us here of that man finding himself not able to stop using, and at the same time, he wants to keep the marriage or to keep the love and not seeing the wife leave. So this person is suffering from what we call a substance use disorder. So the word substance use disorder is actually a terminology used to describe the disease of addiction. And now, addiction itself, being referred to as a disease, actually it affects the person using and the family of the person using. And some of the things that come with addiction, for example, being a disease of the brain, is that it's a relapsing disease of the brain, where it is also described as a chronic relapsing disease of the brain, which means that any chronic condition is the one that once has developed, it does not just get away. It has to be managed. It may not completely be cured, but it just needs to be managed in the long term. And that's one of the characteristics of a chronic disease. And so when we say addiction is a chronic disease, we actually mean that you cannot just tell somebody stop addiction today and they stop it.
Good.
Or stop using and they stop it. It has to be done over a period of time where certain therapies will be involved, and also treatment after identifying whether or not the person has a mental disorder alongside it, that all these being treated together concurrently will bring results. The other thing that is very common to the use of a substance or drug is that people use it despite the harm that it causes to them. Why? The part of the brain that controls behavior has also been damaged by the substance or by the drug that these people are using. So it changes the person's behavior. It changes the person's feelings. It changes the person's emotions. And when all those have been altered with, then they cause the person to behave in a manner that is, in a way that we would say not normal. Because then you'll find they don't eat, they don't sleep well, they're having pain and all that, loss of appetite. So all those will be as a result of them going through that pattern of trying to stop. You're not able to stop because the part of the brain that is enjoying the substance has already been altered to think that every time you take it, you feel okay. And so the same example you have given us, where this man started using after things started going haywire, he started using to numb the pain, the stress that he was going through, because you said in the beginning, as a marriage, they were doing well and he would provide for the family. Then it has reached a point where now he's drinking too much and the wife has taken over, is the one taking care of the family. And now the man is just into use of the alcohol. So that means there's a likelihood he started using to numb the pain or the stress that was caused by him losing his financial ability to sustain the family or to provide.
In fact, he was saying
yes,
the reason as to why he will drink too much is because, and make sure that he gets home late, so that he can find the wife and the children
asleep.
And so he does not have to go through the kutupiwa maneno ovyo ovyo, kutupiwa maneno mbele ya watoto, kuongeleshwa kwa sauti. He does not have to go through that. So by him taking the alcohol, I believe the concentration will not be kwa mambo ambayo anaambiwa, hataweza kuyasikiza.
He might even just sleep.
Exactly. That is and he was saying as the reason as to why he doesn't think he's gonna stop that, because he does not see a reason as to why he has to get home early sober to just be thrown words at. He doesn't see a reason to that. So talking about that, what is the impact of substance abuse on relationships, on marriages? Because I believe there's no way a relation, jinsi ambavyo tumeweza kusema tulipokuwa tukianza, it has long been seen, it is even evident that substance abuse relationships and marriages, they cannot mix at any one point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is the impact of that?
So actually the impact, I can say, is huge. And some of the things we can see happening in relationships where one of the partners is actually using and has become addicted to that particular drug or substance. We have seen the first thing being a feeling of abandonment and neglect from the other partner. And you'll find that if it's a man who is using, like you've given that example, the wife feels left out, even intimately. And therefore, that will easily cause some sort of isolation between the two of them. So the wife will feel isolated, and the man will also feel isolated on this other side, therefore bringing the sense of abandonment and neglect. It also brings a lot of financial strain. Addiction, we usually say it's an expensive, activity to be involved in, because the money that is used most of the time will be removed from the needs of a family to that substance or that drug, so that whenever the person feels the cravings, they will want to go and take, even not regarding the needs of the family that are very important. So financial strain is another reason that happens there. Then there is emotional and physical abuse that happens out of the use of substance. For example, as I said, some of the stimulants that people use, for example, would go all the way to cause them to become aggressive in some way. Or if the aggression is not there, the violence comes in at some point, and that can happen even to the relationships at workplace, the relationships at home, the relationships in other spaces of their lives. That's also another problem. Then the bigger one that happens when it's in an intimate relationship is actually the loss of intimacy and affection, where the other partner starts to feel, now, how can I deal with this person in this way? The person does not respect this relationship. The person does not bring money to this relationship, for example, as we said, husband and wife. Then all those will cause these people to separate, like you've heard. The separation can be physical, or it can just be, subtle, where we are together in the eyes of the people, but in actual sense, the relationship is gone. So this is very common in the society today, and it's something that is really disturbing. Then lastly, in relationships, and most of the time, if it's a family setup, this substance use of one of the spouses actually affects, if children are in that relationship, it affects them. Because if the example you gave us, the man wants to get home late so that he can find when the wife is asleep and children are asleep. One, the children will be isolated because they don't get to see their dad. The wife is isolated. Secondly, the children will lose the love to their father or their mother.
Exactly.
And one thing that is very important when we are discussing about the impact of this addiction in relationships, let's remember that also an individual, a wife or a woman or a female in a relationship could also be the one who is addicted, and not always the man.
Exactly.
So it's important for us to know that the other way can be
it's
true.
Also very possible.
Yes.
Na kwa sababu tunazungumza how to navigate a relationship with a partner who is addicted, ama who is into drug and substance abuse. I want us to talk about substance and the substance now and the codependency of it, because unapata kwamba kuna mtu ambaye huenda atamshughulikia mwenzake ambaye yuko kwenye hiyo addiction mpaka anajisahau yeye mwenyewe. Like, no, it's all about them. So I would like you to talk about the substance and now the codependency of the same.
So one thing that we see very common when a family is affected, actually, we say that addiction is a family disease, because the person using tends to affect the other people in the family. And through that scenario, it is very easy for one or two of the family members to become codependent on that person. And codependency, we can simply define it as being overly involved in the person's life, the person who is using.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't like to use the word an addict. I'll use the word the person with a substance use disorder.
Yes.
Yeah. So that person who has a substance use disorder tends to cause others who are around them to be codependent. And especially, you'll find that if it's a son, the mother would be the one affected by this codependency thing, where she's overly concerned where their son is, making sure that even before she goes to bed, she keeps the food there for the son to come and find. She will come and open the door for the son. You'll make sure that if the son is gone to the police station and is been arrested for some reason, she's the first one to be there. And all this will drain her energy, causing her not to take care of her emotions, causing her not to take care of her well-being. And at the end of the day, she also now becomes affected from all that the son is going through. But it's important that if that is identified again, a solution is found where we say psychoeducation is needed to educate the family on what this particular person with the substance use is going through, so that the family gets treatment and the person with the substance use disorder also gets treatment. So both the family and the person with the substance use disorder need to be treated so that we get better outcomes. Yes.
And I think it's very important for our society or even for our viewer to understand that, kwa sababu unapata ya kwamba people do not have the knowledge ya kwamba the one who is with the who is having the disorder and the one who is dealing with the person with the disorder, they both need help. Lakini tunaishi katika jamii ambayo no, they need to be helped, they need to be taken to the rehab, like you know, you're not even focusing on what is happening in the inside of you. And then talking about that, there's a issue of the dual dialysis and the dual diagnosis and the co-occurrence. Ningependa uweze kumwelimisha mtazamaji wetu, what are we really talking about that when we talk about dual diagnosis and concurrence, and what it really entails?
So a co-occurrence is a situation where substance use disorder occurs in the same person alongside a mental disorder, right? And so that is what we call dual diagnosis, where those two are occurring in the same person. And a good example will be where somebody is using, for example, cocaine, and then out of that cocaine also, it has been identified this person is using, is actually having depression. Another example that is very common is somebody is using marijuana, and this same person has anxiety during the assessment. So from a good assessment, it's easy for the person doing the assessment to identify all those signs and symptoms of the two, and therefore that's when they reach the conclusion that this is a dual diagnosis. Yes.
Nice. Kwa sababu this one was supposed to be a very, very short episode. Sasa cha mwisho kabisa, maswali la mwisho kabisa ni how then do we support these families? Because napata tunaishi katika jamii ambayo when we see a family that is dealing with a person who is suffering from who is having this kind of disorder of substance abuse, we judge them so much. So much so that we do not even want to be associated with this kind of people, because why are you doing drugs? Can't you not see what it's doing to you? Can you not see what it's doing to your family? So what kind of support do these kind of families need?
Okay, so there are different ways you can approach the support to a family that has one of their own going through this substance use disorder. The first thing is to help the family to seek psychological help, psychological support. Because the moment they identify one of their own has this problem, they also switch gears, and this affects their well-being as well. So one, they should seek psychological support. Two, they should seek professional support in terms of psychoeducation around what really substance use and substance abuse is.
Entails, yeah.
And to add on this, I want to mention that it's not always just about the illicit drugs that we are talking about. Even sometimes one of their family members is using prescription drugs and they're actually addicted to them. For example, we know many people are addicted to sleep medication.
Yeah.
That also can cause an addiction to that sleep medication, as much as the sleep medication is being prescribed by maybe a psychiatrist or a doctor to help them get sleep. The other thing that is very important is to find quickly how the person who has the substance use disorder will get treatment. So family gets treatment and the person also gets treatment. And along the way, if they got a good program, there will even be situations where the two are brought together to have some family conversations about what really is going on, how are they going to get out of it, and what really is required to support the person who has a family, has the substance use disorder. Remember, we have said this being a family disease, therefore everyone in the family needs to participate to help them, to stop stigmatizing on that person who has the substance use disorder, and also being aware that this is a disease that can get treatment just like any other disease gets treatment.
Yeah.
So that is very important for also families to remember that treatment is available and treatment can be sought for, only that you have to be willing to walk that journey so that you can reach the very end of it. And then lastly, ensure that they improve on communication among themselves as a family and also with the person who has a substance use disorder. Because if they don't communicate the right way to that person, this person might eventually feel like they have actually excommunicated him from the family. And that happens a lot. You'll hear somebody has been taken to a treatment facility and abandoned there. So which means we need to come to that awareness that treatment is available and treatment is important and recovery is possible.
Now,
yes,
talking about this person thinking that they have been taken to a facility
yes,
to get help and being abandoned there,
yes,
is it the same reason that will make someone get out of the same facility and fall back into the addiction?
That can be a reason if the person leaves the rehabilitation facility and goes back especially to the same environment. The same environment would mean where they meet the same people that they were using with, where they meet the supply of the same drug available. And so what will happen, it's very easy for them to relapse back into that
condition.
Habit, yes.
So it is very important for us to take to be very cautious of
yes,
the environment that these people are being
post-treatment
exposed to.
Yes.
Okay.
So post-treatment, ensure that you find an environment that will help them in the recovery process rather than taking them back to an environment that will just bring back the memories and the friends and the, everything that caused them to get there. So that is very important. Yes.
Kwa hivyo cha msingi na cha mwisho kabisa na cha msingi ambacho ungependa mtazamaji wetu aweze kuelewa when you're talking about how to navigate a relationship with a partner who is dealing with substance abuse, what will that be?
Yes.
What will that be?
That can be a very difficult relationship, but as we have said, awareness is very important for you to understand that my partner is dealing with a situation that has affected their health. And this being a health issue, then treatment should be looked for. Treatment should be sought. Secondly, you as the person that is with the other who is using, being aware that the best way to help the person is actually to show them love, to reduce stigma, to educate them also about the dangers, to find them in a situation where professional help will come in and this person should be able to get treatment immediately. Because the more we keep the person, the more they are likely to develop what we call substance-induced disorders. And that would mean this person then will struggle to get better because they are dealing with so many things that are happening at the same time within the same body as we have looked at the dual diagnosis. Yes.
Asante sana Sammy kwa kuweza kutenga muda wako kuja hapa kutuelimisha, kutuhamasisha na vile vile kutupa ujuzi wa baadhi ya mambo ambayo tuna ujuzi nayo ila we do not have the right knowledge of some of these things, na pia kutupa mafunzo kuhusiana na mambo ama baadhi ya mambo ambayo hatuna ujuzi whatsoever about some of these things that are happening within us, about some of the things that are happening in our society today, because the moment we get knowledge, the moment we have the right direction, we are able to have a society whereby we have created an environment for us to flourish and to grow together. So asante sana mtazamaji kwa kuweza kutenga muda wako kuja mahali hapa ama kuwa mahali hapa ili tuweze kufanya nini, kuelimishana na vile vile kuinuana. Ila cha msingi zaidi ningependa ufanye nini, make sure you subscribe so that you are plugged in ili tuweze kufanya nini, to get knowledge together, to get educated together. Leo na siku zote nafahamika kama Ruth Ngatia.